He slams the flight manual onto the dashboard so hard the coffee spills. Brown liquid drips over the illuminated digital display reading Runway 04. He glares out the reinforced glass at the tarmac below. A neon yellow paint truck is literally rolling over the giant white number 4. A worker casually sprays a thick, mocking number 5 over the fresh asphalt. He grips the steering yoke, knuckles turning completely white. A flock of startled birds scatters into the overcast sky. Why in the absolute world would they change the number of a slab of concrete? He violently unbuckles his harness and kicks the cockpit door open. Cold wind instantly aggressively rips through his crisp white uniform. Heavy combat boots stomp down the metal stairs to the runway. The smell of fresh paint and burnt aviation fuel burns the nostrils. He marches straight toward the bewildered painter. A dropped spray can rolls slowly across the slanted tarmac. Concrete doesn't just pack up and move overnight. He furiously points a trembling finger at a tattered orange windsock in the distance. The fabric tube flails wildly in the violent crosswind. Airports don't just pick numbers out of a magical hat. He yanks a vintage brass compass from his chest pocket. The metallic lid pops open with a sharp click. The tiny magnetic needle violently shakes inside its glass prison. Runways are aligned with the wind to stop multi-million-dollar metal tubes from crashing. A massive Boeing jet roars overhead, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. He traces a large circle in the air with his hands. A full compass has 360 degrees originating from ancient sea captains. Raindrops begin to violently strike the brass surface of the compass. You drop the last 0, and suddenly heading 40 becomes runway 4. He snatches a walkie-talkie from his belt. Static crackles sharply from the small black speaker. It is a flawless, mathematically elegant system. He hurls the walkie-talkie against the tire of the paint truck. Black plastic shatters into a dozen jagged pieces. But the universe deeply enjoys torturing human logic. He grabs the painter by the collar, eyes wide with manic realization. A puddle of rainwater perfectly reflects the gray, stormy sky. Your GPS points to the top of the spinning globe. He releases the man and begins pacing frantically in a circle. That is the true north, the mathematical anchor of reality. He suddenly drops to his knees on the rough, abrasive runway. He presses his ear directly against the cold, damp concrete. There is a monster roaring beneath the crust of the earth. He pulls out a heavy iron wrench from the worker's toolkit. The heavy metal tool gleams menacingly in the dim light. Compasses do not care about your elegant geography. They are slaves to the invisible magnetic fields. He aggressively drags the wrench across the ground, sending bright orange sparks flying. There is a second North Pole, a rogue magnetic ghost. A distant flash of lightning briefly illuminates the desolate airport. The magnetic pole and the geographic pole are not in the same room. They barely even belong to the same zip code. He aggressively rips open a map of the world, tearing the paper in half. The wind violently snatches the northern hemisphere away. We are living on a giant, unstable electromagnet. He points straight down into the earth with intense, wide eyes. Thousands of miles below this freshly painted number 5 is a chaotic ocean of molten iron. A thick stream of red paint spills from an overturned bucket, mimicking lava. The viscous liquid slowly crawls into a nearby storm drain. The Earth's core is boiling, swirling, and churning like a cosmic witch's brew. He begins tracing erratic, swirling patterns into the spilled red paint. Spinning liquid metal creates wild convection currents. Those currents violently generate our planet's magnetic field. A gust of wind knocks a metal barrier over with a deafening crash. This field isn't fixed. It is a drunken wanderer. He kicks the empty paint bucket, sending it clattering across the runway. The magnetic North Pole is currently sprinting away from Canada at terrifying speeds. He grabs the compass again, shaking it as if demanding an apology from the needle. Because the magnetic field shifts, the compass heading shifts. A single brown leaf skitters nervously across the giant white number 5. When the compass shifts, the runway numbers become a dangerous lie. He raises both hands to the sky in utter hilarious despair. This entire planet is a poorly designed science experiment. He falls flat onto his back, staring up at the miserable gray clouds. Millions of dollars are spent worldwide just to repaint these stupid numbers. The painter carefully steps over him, retrieving a fresh can of spray paint. The hissing sound of aerosol fills the tense silence. Canada actually gave up and switched back to the math pole out of pure frustration. He rolls over, pressing his face against the cold, wet paint of the number 5. And here is the most terrifying part of this ridiculous cosmic joke. He slowly stands up, his crisp uniform now stained with grease and red paint. The Earth's magnetic field is actively weakening right now. A nearby runway light flickers unsteadily and suddenly dies. One day the swirling molten iron will completely lose its mind. The North Pole will violently flip to the South Pole. He lets out a hollow, manic laugh that echoes across the empty tarmac. Every single compass on Earth will instantly point exactly the wrong way. He slowly wipes the mixture of sweat and paint from his forehead. The distant roar of another approaching airplane vibrates through his heavy boots. He calmly picks up his spilled coffee cup from the grass. Physics is an absolute nightmare masquerading as a set of rules. He takes a slow, deliberate sip from the completely empty cup.